The Caribbean Water and Wastewater Association is hosting their 33rd annual conference and exhibition this coming week, and you get the chance to be a part of it. This morning, I welcome outgoing president of the CWWA, Mr. Marlon Daniels, and Minister of Public Utilities, the Honorable Marvin Gonzales. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Marcus.
How are you doing this morning?
A bit tired, but fine. I'll be looking forward to a full week.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, so we're ready for your bacchanal this week. It's going to be an exciting and engaging and educational week.
That's a perfect way to describe the week.
All right, interview done. Let me go. All right, before we get into the details of the conference, tell me a little bit about the CWWA.
So we are an organization that is headquartered in Trinidad and Tobago, actually. It was formed by an act of parliament of Trinidad and Tobago in 1991. The founding fathers thought it best to annually have a gathering of minds to, first and foremost, to present technical papers and to really showcase the work that we do in the industry, the water and wastewater industry, water and wastewater sectors. In 2017, we would have adopted a third pillar of the association, being the solid waste management sector. Over the years, the conference has grown tremendously. We now have exhibiting annually, and we try to move from island to island, territory to territory every year. We've now grown to about 60, 70 exhibitors every year, equal number of papers, technical papers being presented. What I find most interesting in our growth, though, is that 20 years ago we started a high-level forum for Caribbean water ministers, where we invite the ministers to basically have a discussion on topics of interest, topics that affect the sector regionally. I must commend your minister, Minister Gonzales. I met him in 2022 in the Bahamas when I had assumed presidency, and I think he is. I guess he was new to the sector then, and so he was very attentive to the conference. He would have inaugurated the first water loss conference in Trinidad and Tobago the following year in 2023 as a result of the discussions we had in 2022. And this year, he would have agreed graciously to host the conference for the third time. I think now we are number 5 in the 33 years in Trinidad and Tobago. And this is exactly what the high-level forum had intended, to really galvanize the work of the policymakers, to really sort of encourage but promote change across all sectors, across the 3 sectors of the association.
Besides that change happening in Trinidad and Tobago with our minister, have you seen it being implemented across the Caribbean as well?
Certainly. I can speak, during my tenure as president, and I've been in the association for over 10 years, during my tenure as president, I was very impressed by several ministers. I can, apart from Minister Gonzales, I can mention Minister Alfred Sears from the Bahamas, who hosted us in 2022. Very competent, very, very eloquent minister. Understood the work that has to be done in the sector, understood all the relevant topics. Non-revenue water is something I'm certain you may have spoken about before, if not on the show, certain Trinidad and Tobago. He understood it well. I will also highlight my minister, Minister Colin Crowe, who should be landed by now, who's going to be here at this conference, for really the work that we do. And in Guyana, I really don't want to make it a Guyanese thing,
It's a regional thing.
Blackout and all, it's not so long ago.
It's too soon. It's still too soon.
But,
it's still too soon. Still too soon.
But really, truly, the work we do in the association really promotes that work that governments then take up. My government is a fine example where we have massive investments across the sector over the last 5 years. So I think we're celebrating our 20th anniversary of that forum this year. And I really couldn't ask for a better host minister to take us to really commemorate that 20th anniversary of the high-level forum.
Fantastic. Tell me about the theme for this year, Minister.
Oh, it's a very interesting theme, actually, that I was looking at right now. The theme is collective regional action towards a water secure, climate resilient, and zero waste Caribbean. Collective action. I think that is very important, because oftentimes people ask, you guys, meet on a yearly basis, but what comes out of it? So in Bahamas, as was said a short while ago, we signed a declaration, a ministerial declaration, which influenced the work of the CWWA and the work of government for the years preceding or after that conference. And in Guyana last year, we were able to examine whether or not we are on course to achieve some of the declarations, some of the intentions that we set out ourselves. And, listening to some of my Caribbean colleagues and listening to some of the professionals, we would have seen where we would have made significant gains and strides coming out of the Bahamas Declaration. Today we're in Trinidad, and we're going to be looking at the declaration that we signed in Georgetown, Guyana.
Okay.
And we will be examining
how far we come.
How far we have come. And in Trinidad this week, we will be signing a declaration that will guide the policies and the programs for the various sectors.
Just out of sheer curiosity, right? When we signed the declaration, and you signed one in Bahamas, and then you said we went to Guyana, and we checked it out again. When you look back and you see, all right, they may have found like one or two things that didn't happen. Do we then add it to the next declaration, or do we just forget that?
It is. No. Certainly.
Okay.
And the declaration will examine the ways in which we are moving slow, the areas that we are moving slow, and that we need to expedite some of those critical areas so that we can get to that point that we would like to get. So I think we have been making some significant strides in the region, but the issue of climate change continues to cloud and continues to undermine and continues to threaten the progress that we have made. So for example, here in Trinidad and Tobago, we have done quite a number of projects, as you would have known, and we would have expanded WASA's infrastructure. We are involved in an IDB program to expand water production, to digitize the operation of WASA, to engage in NRW, or the reduction of non-revenue water, being the central part of the transformation of the Water and Sewage Authority. We're looking at the restructuring of the authority. But climate change is happening
regardless.
And it is happening at a fast rate.
Yeah.
Because, for example, over the last 3 years, we drilled 18 wells. We increased water production to close to 4 million gallons of water per day. But today, the Arena Reservoir, it has not reached 50% as yet. As opposed to years before. It would have been at 75% in the years before. Today, it is close to about 43%. The Hollis Reservoir is somewhere around 45, and the Navette Reservoir, it's somewhere around 48 or 49%. The effects of climate change, and we're seeing the same thing happening in Mexico, in South Africa. Imagine, I was reading an article just two weeks ago where taps are running dry in Johannesburg in South Africa because their reservoirs are running critically low because of less rainfall taking place. So climate change is posing a serious risk for us in the region.
And it's not just about less rainfall, it's where the rain is falling, from what I understand, yeah?
It is less rainfall in some of the critical impounding reservoirs,
right.
And sometimes you get extreme rainfalls in areas where you don't have impounding reservoirs. So that is contributing significantly. I'm telling you, Raucus, the Caroni Water Treatment Plant, for example, it's a catchment from the Caroni River. It produces 75 million gallons of water per day. But when the rain falls, the river levels increase and the plant produces 75 million gallons of water. Then 2 or 3 days after, it's extreme heat. The river levels drop and production decreases by about 10 million gallons of water. And this is happening all over in Tobago. We have an interesting scenario that is taking place in Tobago. It is the only reservoir, the Hillsborough Reservoir, that is 100% at this point in time. We desilted it a couple of years ago successfully. But one part of Tobago, the Hillsborough Reservoir, is at 100%. But the other part, the southwest part of Tobago, the Colon River, is critically low, that you can't produce nearly 700,000 or 500,000 gallons of water. You're way below your target. Again, the effects of climate change. So this year, when we meet in Port of Spain, as we're meeting in Port of Spain this week, this is something that we need, that should dominate the conversation. But what we are doing.
But how do we mitigate against climate change? Because I feel like we don't have much control over what the climate is doing.
We certainly have no control of what is happening, but we have a control in the way that we respond to build the resilience that required. So we are drilling wells, as you know. We continue to drill wells. We expect to drill about 14 or 15 wells, especially in areas where the rural communities that we regard as unserved and underserved, to build their resilience. So government is doing what government can do. It is going to take billions of dollars to build that level of resilience, and sometimes billions of dollars that we can't afford. we can't borrow our way to get out of the impacts of climate change. Marlon will tell you it is going to take billions of dollars to build that level of resilience. But what we can do is to change our attitude towards the resource. Look at
Tell me more.
wastage.
Tell me more.
And so the government can do, and the government must do, and will do, governments, to build that resilience. But what can we do at the level of the individual to help build that resilience? And that, of course, means that we need to examine sustainable ways in which we consume the resource of water.
Okay.
All right? And that will play a very significant role. It can save millions of gallons of water that we can hold in our impounding reservoirs, or that we can make available to communities that are unserved and that are underserved.
Just out of curiosity again, would it be cheaper, less, maybe millions instead of billions to just redirect the water?
When you say...
Like if I know plenty rain falling in Santa Cruz, right, and that do ever reach down to the Caroni reservoir, can we then say, all right, let's put some tracks in place so that we can redirect all the rainfall to get to the reservoirs it needs to get to?
It is not that simple.
Well, that's what I'm asking because we don't know, right?
It is not that simple. I mean, there's a concept I learned years ago when I visited Bolivia. They have a law that, what's the name of it? La Ley de Tierra Madre, which basically says, so it's the law of Mother Earth, but it basically says in its form, to render to Mother Earth what belongs to Mother Earth. And so there was this, a similar situation where I saw an opportunity to engineer a solution to a problem. And they reminded me of that law, La Ley de Madre Tierra, that you have to allow the environmental services to be fed from the resource. So diverting rivers and diverting drainage ways it's not as simple as that in the instance that the minister would have identified. But one of the things that he has been doing, I can say, and this is maybe the proudest moment of my presidency. I was here in August for the launch of the same conference, and I had an opportunity to tour the operations center that WASA would have commissioned not too long ago. That is the beginning of what it will take to properly manage a water utility company. And that is exactly how you combat the scourge of non-revenue water. You spoke earlier, and Minister spoke earlier, as a matter of fact, about the levels dropping very quickly and what to do. The management of water and the accountability of water all goes into the part that's called non-revenue water. And those actions that he would have initiated, I'm quite certain, from coming out of his first conference in the Bahamas, I mean, as an association, we feel very proud when a minister can pilot a technical solution that benefits our technical work. And that is exactly what we've been trying to do for the last 33 years. I'm quite certain that our founding fathers, and the founding father is Trini, by the way, the late Ron Williams, right? His son also Trinidad, and he was the past president too. I'm certain that those guys are very proud of where we are and how we continue to grow as an association, and more importantly, how we have been able to galvanize the support from the policymakers. And so again, I can't think of a better place to celebrate our 20th installation of that high-level forum.
Now, one of the things we've been talking about water, all right, but part of the conference is also waste management. Tell me about sustainable waste management and how we plan to approach it. How can this conference help us to approach it better?
Of course. So a couple of months ago, the Trinidad and Tobago government launched 3 major policies that will set the foundation for the transformation of the waste sector in Trinidad and Tobago. So let's examine where we are. We dispose of our waste in the traditional method of landfilling, which is not a sustainable way to protect our environment. We have 3 major landfills in Trinidad and Tobago. One at Beetham,
Forest Park,
and Guanapo. All of those landfills are filled to capacity. And therefore, we cannot continue to dispose of our waste at those landfills in the way that we have done over the last maybe 50 or 100 years. We commissioned a waste characterization study about 2 years ago, and it is showing that we, on a daily basis, dispose of about 18 billion tons of waste. That is quite a lot of waste. But the good news is that 75% of the waste that we dispose at our landfills can be repurposed, where you can make revenue and you can help grow your economy and create a sustainable environment. As a result of that, again, starting from the work in Bahamas 2-3 years ago, continuing with what we had done in Georgetown in Guyana, we established 3 major policies that will set the foundation for the transformation of the waste sector in Trinidad and Tobago, which is the integrated waste management policy for Trinidad and Tobago, a recycling policy, and a beverage container policy. So this week, the waste management professionals will be reporting to this high-level forum and to the conference of the strides that we have made so far in setting the foundation to transition the way in which we manage our waste, towards a zero carbon and reducing significant waste going into the environment and creating a more sustainable environment. The Solid Waste Management Company, which is the state entity that has the responsibility to manage waste in Trinidad and Tobago, will be transitioned from a company incorporated under the Companies Act to a statutory authority being given the legislative authority to manage the waste system in Trinidad and Tobago.
How soon can we look to that happen?
That is going to happen in this budgetary year, in 2024. The legislation is already being drafted. We are cooperating with the Attorney General's office, and all of these legislations to implement those policies will be piloted in Parliament in this fiscal year.
Okay.
But another important thing is also happening, is that we are completing an environmental impact assessment study, which is a study that must be conducted as a result of the requirement of the EMA. Mm-hmm. That study is expected to be completed in March to April 2025. And once it is completed, together with the waste characterization study and all of the studies that we've done over the last 2 or 3 years, we would see the commencement of the construction of an engineered sanitary landfill in the Forest Park area, thereby removing the need to have these landfills in Guanapo, in Beetham, and in Forest Park. They are going to be completely decommissioned, moved to an engineered landfill, where again the waste is going to be further separated before they are reduced into a level before going into the environment.
Now, oftentimes when I travel, I see that they have separate bins for separate things. Are we looking to move to something similar?
That is exactly what the recycling and the beverage container policies will do.
All right.
It will help homes at the domestic level separate our waste, the containers, the bottles, and what have you. But not only about separating the waste, you can now take it to specific sites where you are going to be paid to separate those wastes.
Now that's motivation in and of itself.
Exactly, and that is the reason why we need to have that change taking place at the domestic levels. You can just imagine what can take place in our schools and our NGOs and what have you, at our homes, communities, where people are now incentivized to separate their waste, take it to specific locations, or in many instances, you can have vehicles driving around the various communities, collecting the waste because of the value that is now placed to waste in Trinidad and Tobago and around the world.
I often feel like that can be a catch-22, but I hope that it works in our favor. I know that for the conference, we have a whole bunch of different things that we'll be dealing with, and of course, from a topical perspective. But the format, I know they have some technical sessions, exhibition hall, youth and community engagement. We have in that networking opportunities, and of course, the ministerial roundtable. Yes. So, Mr. Daniels, before we wrap up, is there anything in particular that you want to tell Trinidad and Tobago to look out for in this conference this week?
Well, the minister has covered, I guess, all the important parts. One of the things we try to do is not only do work, we try to have some fun.
Too much fun.
Let me see. In 2016, Trinidad hosted.
Right.
And they put on a very good show. We have something called Culture Night.
We tend to.
I have had the privilege of hosting right after Trinidad in 2017 in Guyana. And so I put on a better show.
You tried?
I did.
You tried?
I did.
That's okay.
I did.
Did the lights stay on for the whole time?
The challenge is now is that last year Guyana hosted.
All right.
And this year Trinidad hosting. So I really expect Trinidad to put on a very good show. I'm certain. I mean, the Culture Night is now a bragging rights.
Lights will not be going out.
Lights will not be going out. No. So we really hope to have.
And you know we have an axe to grind this round. You know we have an axe to grind.
But let me tell you something before we close. I think this is very interesting to show you the benefit of the CWWA. The new CEO that is going to be installed in Warsaw.
The new president? The new CEO at Warsaw, yeah.
He's Kittishan from St. Kitts.
Yes.
He worked at the Barbados Water authority.
Correct.
And he would have played a very instrumental role in the conferences in Bahamas and Georgetown. So it gives you an idea of that ecosystem that we and that camaraderie that we build in the entire region. So that the transformation that is taking place in Wassa, it is just not a Trinidad and Tobago thing. It is a regional thing. As a matter of fact, we were hoping that Marlon Daniels would have joined the executive, but that's another.
I feel like that's a whole other conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, the Caribbean Water and Wastewater Association is hosting their 33rd annual conference and exhibition. It's happening this week. Opening ceremony happens this evening, and it's going to be live right here on TTT. So all you have to do is tune in, and we'll give you all the information as the week continues to unfold. Let me say thank you very much to the Honorable Marvin Gonzales, Minister of Public Utilities, as well as Mr. Marlon Daniels, outgoing President of the CWWA. Thank you guys so very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having us.
Enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the rest of the week at the conference.
Oh, thank you so much.
We'll take a quick break and we come back with more in our morning show. Stick around.